pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will call this school board meeting in Fergus Falls District 544 to order. And Matt Lumpke will be acting as our clerk tonight. You want to take roll, please?
Yes, I will. Kirby Anderson.
Present.
Natalie Knudsen.
Here.
Melanie Cole.
Present.
Steve Vigasa.
Here.
Missy Hermes. Matthew Lemke here. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve our agenda
I'll make the motion that we approve our agenda.
in a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Our agenda is approved. We have a resolution on acknowledgements. Thank you to Eric and Christine Ugarud for their donation of pumpkins to the 7th grade team at KSS, the Fergus Falls Sertoma Club for their grant donation to fund the purchase of a hearing screener set, and the Fergus Falls 544 Education Foundation, who awarded over an additional $35,000 in grants to the Fergus Falls School District. Could someone offer that resolution and move for its adoption?
So moved.
In a second.
I'll second.
Clerk, please take roll, please.
Sure. Steve Vigasa.
Yes.
Melanie Cole.
Yes.
Matthew Lemke, yes. Kirby Anderson.
Yes.
Natalie Knudsen.
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Thank you. So we'll move on to our reports tonight, and we'll start with our middle school principal, Ivan Hurst.
Good evening. Thanks for putting me first. I just want to take a moment to recognize the foundation as well for the work that they do. Those numbers are really significant, and it really does change dynamics in classrooms and attitudes of teachers to have the foundation do the work with not only the grants but the wish lists as well. Really significant. Thank you, foundation. The middle school student councils had a busy start to the year. They did some planning for homecoming. They also did, tomorrow morning they have fall cleanup before the weather changes, right? As their service project for this fall. They're raking leaves and helping in the community, pick up some trash, things like that. Thank you to Mr. Steinbrenner for his work to lead this team. The middle school variety show was held last week. There was a public performance and a school performance. There were 11 acts in the show. It's pretty cool what those young people can come up with. A shout out to Mrs. Sands for her work to make that event really smooth, really nice, very clean, very professionally well done. The students again were the MCs. They did the lights and sound. They did the stage crew. It was a student performance, and I appreciate Mrs. Sands for making it so. Last week we had math teachers in grades 5 and 6, along with Mr. Chad Kemp from RTI. We spent a half a day reviewing trend data in the area of math. So we were looking at the past 3 years of our math data. We tend to have a significant dip in our math data from 4th to 5th, and then it still goes into 6th grade. And then we get a little rise again in our 7th grade year. So Ms. Lamar and I spent time with those teachers to focus that dip that we have in proficiency over the last several years. With the new math teachers we have at those grade levels, and then including RTI, we think we can make some good gains in that area and pretty quickly. What we found in the trend data at both 5th and 6th grade is almost irregardless of year, the area that we were low in was the same. So if it was, I'm making this up, A2 here in 21, 22, and 23, it was the same area that was low. So feel pretty good about our chances if we had just addressed those areas. So we have a really good start. This is the same work that we're doing in PLCs, but the reason that we took a half a day for some momentum in our time, because starting and stopping a PLC can be pretty challenging, so we had a half a day to work on that, and then the new teachers that we had in those areas. So we felt like we needed to do that. Really, we did really good work on that day. Recently, the 8th grade science teachers, Ms. Janelle Holt, Mr. Caleb Kosak, brought interested students to the Junior Envirothon at Detroit Lakes. This tends to happen every year. We had about 40 middle school students participate in the competitive event, 5 learning stations including wildlife, forestry, and soils. At each station, resource professionals from various conservation agencies gave a short presentation and asked students questions. In all, 24 teams competed, and Fergus Falls Middle School had 2 teams placed in the top 3. So, good for those people, that went well. The last part is middle school attendance. We've been working on middle school attendance quite diligently. It's one of the school district goals for this year. We've addressed it at the first 2 staff meetings, or actually 3 staff meetings, including fall in-service. The goal is 90% student attendance. So as we've dived into that data even more closely, I think we have some, I feel really good about how this is gonna go. I say that a little bit tongue-in-cheek because it's never really that easy. Lynn Johnson has been working in our truancy, and she's just going straight forward, straight ahead. And she's been really fun for me to work with because of her, let's find the answers, let's get this thing moving. We've been running, the middle school office has been running attendance reports every 2 weeks, and then we're addressing concerns typically with families, not many students at that level because they're indirectly or directly getting permission to miss. It's, one report, because you can kind of saw this data a lot of different years, right? In this particular role, you get asked about individual students and class average, but this is one report that seemed to be encouraging. We calculated this by taking the overall number of periods. So students times 8 period day, we took the number of students times 8, and then we subtracted out the missed periods. So we got a percentage, and in 5th and 6th grade, we had 95.2% attendance. It's pretty high. Of course, we haven't been sick yet, and the totals haven't got to thresholds just yet, because those are coming. In 7th and 8th grade, to start the year, we're at 94.2% student attendance, so pretty strong. So that's a good start to that. We'll be working on that as it is one of our goals. Dates and upcoming events. The middle school book fair starts this week, Wednesday through next Wednesday. Thank you to Roy, Christy, Stacy for their work to make that a success. It really goes very smoothly. As you likely know, the end of the quarter is next Friday, and that is a early dismissal day, November, I put November 1st, but that's not right. That's got to be the 3rd, Friday, November 3rd. And then we have parent-teacher conferences this week as well. Early release on this Thursday, no school on Friday, and then evening conferences again on Monday. So, that is my report.
Any questions for Ivan?
For the data that you've been reviewing, the trend data for math,
Yeah.
then does it facilitate determining, besides like you said, A2 needs whatever, so that's a category of some type of math, right?
Yeah.
But can you dial it down even a little bit more to some of some teachers' strengths or weaknesses and
We've had a lot of turnover, Melanie, in the math teachers in 5th and 6th grade, so I think that's a factor as well. We had, in 5th grade, we had math at the Prairie 3 years ago, and we moved it back to KSS. The 6th grade teachers have both changed now. So all the way down to teachers, we do have that data by classroom.
okay.
Yeah, a good reference point, but with so many, I see your question now. Might be something to take a look at.
Just enhancing if that's a real strength for a teacher.
Yeah.
And that team approach that we tend to utilize and all,
Yeah.
just making the most out of what we have.
Right people in the right seats.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So remember, we're doing, in the curriculum mapping process, we're kind of starting over with all the new people per se. We have the framework to start. There's been some changes at MDE with the social studies standards that are pausing everything else, so we're waiting on math. We didn't anticipate that happening because who could foresee that? So we went back to the 2007 standards. That's not answering your question, but that's what we decided to go back to because we're probably going to be using those to test for the next 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. We do have data similar to what you're asking for by teachers' homeroom.
Cool.
Yes, we do.
And the truancy numbers look great. Lynn Johnson is really straightforward and diligent about that.
Yeah,
So it's
and-
pretty cool.
And still a learning curve, right? I mean, she's been in this role for somewhere around 8 weeks or so. I think we're on the 8th week of school, so I'll say maybe 9 weeks. Yeah. Yeah, it's getting some feet up under her on that topic. So she has been really great to work with. Yeah, early returns are good. We have a document that we're sharing with Brian Warren, the community liaison, and he has the access to those families, and they tend to be the same families that we worked with last year. But the stars are aligned to make a difference here.
Great. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, our next report, we're gonna go out of order just a little bit, will be one of our elementary principals, Scott Kolbeck.
Good evening. You've maybe heard me talk in the past about some art lessons that are being taught at the elementary schools from a local artist who's also a parent of some of our children in our public school system. And so I wanted to actually bring some samples of some student artwork because I think this is really impressive. What you're going to see is a watercolor painting of Adams School. And all of them that are being passed around happen to be second grade. 3 of them come from, I think, Katie Stortron's classroom, and 2 of them from Mary Stish's classroom. And then this one is actually the one that Sarah Ronovic, our guest artist, put together to show the kids what their finished product could possibly look like. But this is, again, watercolor. All 17 first and second grade classrooms at McKinley and Adams School participated in this art project. The kids started with a blank sheet of paper, so everything that's on there is what students did. But really impressive. You'll see a stamp. Sarah Ronovic had a stamp, and that stamp went on each art project twice. Now the art projects she did at McKinley School are of McKinley School. I'm just bringing you some samples, second grade samples from Adams School. So those are all being displayed in the hallways right now, and it's pretty good stuff. So I was really impressed with what our young kids were able to do. So I thought you might enjoy seeing that. Principal Hurst talked a little bit about attendance. I wanted to talk to you about attendance as well. Just give you a snapshot of what Adams School looked like today. We had 20 kids gone from school today at Adams. But 273 of them were present. That gave us 93% attendance at Adams School today. However, if you look at every day of school at Adams since the first day of school, we are at 95.09 attendance thus far at Adams School. And then if we take a snapshot of McKinley today, we had 15 absences today. That meant 216 kids were still in school. That was 93.5% attendance today. But then since the first day of school, we've had 94.52% attendance. So Adams just a little bit ahead of McKinley by about a half of a percentage point. You'll see this button I'm wearing. I kind of resurrected this from years ago. We have had school board goals around attendance for a long time, so I've had this button in my office for many years, but I did wear it one year almost every day, and it says, "Ask me." 95% ask me, and I had one question all year. Hey, what does your button mean? Tell me about your button. I would say, oh, thanks for asking. We want your child in school at least 19 out of every 20 days. Now I heard Mr. Hurst talk about 90% attendance. I probably need to brush up. Is it 90 or is it 95? If it's 90, we'll still shoot for 95. It'll help us better meet the goal. All right, so there was a fire engine at Adams School today, but for a good cause. There were, I think one of the 3 students was absent, so two of the three fire poster contest winners got to take a ride in the fire truck to Taco John's and have a free meal at Taco John's, compliments of Taco John's, and also the two firefighters. So those four had a free meal today, and you know, when your child wins a poster contest, parents come out and take pictures, and so that was a lot of fun. But in talking with the fire chief, they're doing this over a course of 3 days, where they're gonna spend some time with 9 students, those 9 kids. The 9 poster winners are spread across grades K through 5. 3 happen to be from Adams, 1 from McKinley. And the winning posters advance on to the state competition. So we'll see what happens there. One of our, well, I'll get to that later. That'll come later in the report. Wanted to mention to you about our foster grandparent program. Over the years, from time to time, we've had a foster grandparent volunteering at one of our elementary schools. This year, we have Grandma Janelle Mearsh. She's the foster grandparent at Adams School. She is a retired hydrologist with the state of Minnesota, really sharp. And we're glad she's at Adams, and she works with students in the classrooms of Mrs. Swanson, Mr. Knick, Mrs. Stish, Mrs. Smith, Mrs. Walbotney, Mrs. Silbernagel, and Mrs. Molstry. So she comes usually about 3 times a week for about 5 hours a day, so we're enjoying having her at Adams School as our foster grandparent. 2nd grade COGAT tests have arrived to my office, and those are scheduled to be administered the week of November 6th through the 10th. COGAT is a abbreviation for Cognitive Abilities Test. And so that's a multiple choice assessment that measures reasoning skills with different types of verbal, quantitative, and nonverbal questions. The COGAT is a group-administered aptitude test given as part of the criteria that's used to get into our district's talent development program. So that'll be coming up in a couple weeks. As Mr. Hurst mentioned, we have parent-teacher conferences coming up Thursday evening of this week, all day Friday, and then Monday evening of next week. I collect data from our teachers regarding attendance at parent-teacher conferences. I would love to be able to say that we have 100%, even at the youngest grades, K through 2. But over the years, I've noticed it's usually around 92 or 93%. So we'd love to see every child have an adult come and represent them at parent-teacher conferences. We had a fire station visit. All of our kindergartners visited the fire station on October 11th. One of the things that our little kids get a kick out of is sometimes when they go visit the fire station, one of the McKinley custodians, Mr. John Goots, he's a volunteer firefighter. So when his schedule allows, he likes to be down at the fire station, so when those little 5-year-olds show up, they see Mr. Goots and put a connection together that, hey, you're a firefighter, but you're also one of our custodians at McKinley. So that's always kind of fun. And then I think I've talked about this in the past. I really appreciate our local law enforcement, and Chief Bergeron is really good to our district in that we have school resource officers that work across the schools. And this year we were lucky enough to even add another person, Officer Dale Haber. And so now we will see Officer Haber either at McKinley or Adams along with Officer Kitzman. So we just really appreciate their presence in and around our schools, both before and after school, and then even during the school day. So, you know, you talk about good community policing, and all of the little kids growing up in Fergus Falls should have no reason but to look up to these gentlemen as really positive role models and figures in our community. So with that, I would entertain any questions from the board.
Well, did you say the part you were gonna get back to?
Yeah, Mr. Goots,
Oh,
the fire
that.
station.
Got
Yeah,
it.
thank you.
Okay, yeah, I
Yes.
didn't make that connection like that. Good, thank you.
So,
Thank you. Okay, then we will move on to a food service update from Lance Wells.
Hello, everyone. No pressure. Everybody says they always enjoy these presentations because they're so informative, and I'm like, I just feel like I'm just rehashing the past all the time, and it'd be nice to talk about something different. So every year I come and I report to you guys. Every year I tell you all the things that we're doing. Like, I could tell you about all the hundreds of pounds of fresh meat every week we're using in our meals, or how many things we make from scratch utilizing supply chain funding, or how Lincoln School teams have significantly expanded access to free breakfasts and lunches at our preschool, or that we're just a box of spoodles away from fruit and veg bars at Cleveland. Everything else is here that we've been waiting. We all know how the supply chain effect has reached even things that shouldn't, so we're also a victim to that. But, I have a list, but I'm not going to. I'm going to tell you how we got here and where we are heading, because it's generally pretty obvious. Everyone knows the types of work that we're doing down in food service, the quality of the food that we're making, the speed of service, the selection, the choices, all of the things that we're doing. And the reason why I want to talk about how we got here is I want to show you the impact of a single decision that you guys made. In 2019, young me, in my first year, my second full year here, I brought you guys a proposal to move away from the same old thing. The thing that we've been doing for 20 years. Anybody remember this? It was in a big fancy binder. I had one for everybody because overachiever. I brought you this because I thought we could do something better, something more flexible, something healthier. And as we learned in COVID, something way less susceptible to supply chain issues. Because while the rest of the country was trying to find 1,200 of one thing, we just had to find 20 of this and 30 of that and 40 of this, and it didn't look any different than when we had the food court in non-COVID days. During this time in my presentation, I talked about how our commodity funds were reducing because more kids were getting a la carte, less kids were taking the reimbursable meal. Service at KSS was incredibly slow. It took a long time to get food. Menu options rarely changed. A la carte competed against the healthy meals that we were trying to promote in the first place. And we had a two-tier system where it was clear that we had the haves and we had the have-nots. The kids who could not really afford to buy the a la carte were in the type A meal line, and the kids who could afford a la carte avoided that line because it was the same old thing. All of the stuff that we're doing now, we couldn't have done, like all this stuff. We couldn't have done everything that I reported to you every year. We couldn't have done that if you've not made that one decision to support me in putting that food court in, because I knew that that wasn't the thing. That was the vehicle to get us to the thing that we're trying to achieve here. So now as we are, our commodities are higher. We can serve an entire class in under 5 minutes through the food courts. The menu is constantly changing. Students now take nutritious reimbursable school meals, and every student gets the same whole meal deal now. That every student, no matter how much their income is. The food court has paid for itself over and over. Enough that we've replaced all that old kitchen equipment that was brought from Roosevelt back from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. That's all been replaced and was in desperate need of being replaced. I know some of you had actually seen some of the pieces of equipment that were smoking and charring, and they were just so bad. And now we have new equipment plus some new tools. We have a state-of-the-art functioning kitchen that has been instrumental in the work that we do today. You can't cook if you don't have the right gear. If you have 4 pans in the oven and the top one and the third one from the bottom one burn half the right side unless you flip it every 6 minutes, and that's not cooking, that's torture. That's how you make a really bad meal, is by having improperly working equipment. So with this equipment, we make things from scratch, lots of things. Things that we hope each time that we make that they're more accepted than the highly processed alternatives. The food court is full of these things that we make with fresh meat, or we make not just pulling it out of the freezer, throwing it on a pan and putting it on a bun. We have a lot of these things that we make. We did samples of pork chili verde, something that is one of my dishes that I'm well known for. I mean, I make really good chili verde. And you don't know when you throw something out as a sample to the kids, but we handed out like 250 samples, and we did samples of Indian curry the next day, and there was a line of kids that had had the sample previously that was hoping it was the chili verde again because they had loved it so much and were begging us to put that onto the menu, which obviously we're going to. That's why we do these samples. We get you hooked on it and for free, and then we get you to take the meal. And so that'll be something that'll be coming up. And we can't do those kind of things with the old service that we have, with the way we used to look at school food service. You need to have those opportunities to present new foods that don't have to appeal to all 1,200 kids that are eating lunch. We just need to have foods that can accommodate their needs and allow them to learn what they like, what they don't like, to grow culturally, to grow culinarily, to grow nutritionally. So the food court gives us opportunity to try anything, really, without having to commit to serving it to everyone. It's what the food court gives us that makes it all possible. I don't have 10 people standing behind a line constantly waiting for kids to come through. I have a couple people that stand behind the line for about 4 or 5 minutes, and then it's over, and then they can go scatter off and do all the things that they need to do for either the next lunch or for that next meal or for whatever new thing we're making or whatever thing they're making. A lot of the stuff that we do comes from the staff themselves. Brenda Bosworth is a great example. All the beautiful salads and wraps and things that she makes there. She went out and did the research. She was looking at all the menus. She was looking at online places. She was following Tips for School Meals and Burrito Lady and Sandwich Guy and Salad Person. And she took pictures of all these things and then recreated them for us. And so it's a lot of self-growth too. Let's see. So where we're at now is now we have the vehicle. The food court wasn't the big thing, although it kind of seems like the big thing still, but that's mostly 5th graders and 6th graders. Everybody else is used to it, and they think this is how all school districts are if they've never been to another school. It's really rewarding to see one come from another school district, and they're just standing there kind of looking around, a little deer in the headlights, and then and you're like, hey, I bet you moved here from a different school, didn't you? Yeah. Do you need some help? Yeah. And then we get them through the process. But once they're through, they can't imagine anything else. The future of school food service is in facilities like KSS that we built here, because there's no limits to what we can make now. And when I first came here, we didn't have a lot of these things. We didn't have the ability. The food court literally started everything. Now we create, taste, try, like beef stew is on the menu in November. Probably haven't seen that yet, but that's all made from scratch. That's going to be many cases of chuck roast that'll be fresh. It'll be delivered. We'll hand process all of that. We'll make stew like you would make at home, only in big 60-gallon kettles. And then now that we have beef stew, we can make things fresher. We can make them better, and without the constant threat of supply chain issues of the future. Because we've seen how that's worked one time, we can pretty much figure this is how it's going to go every time there's some kind of deal. In the last month, I've been battling with the dairy company about their inability to get milk cartons. I'm like, I do 1,000 things here every day. You have one thing to do. You have milk cartons to fill. Let's get these milk cartons. And so there was a week or so that we only had white milk, and they were threatening that we would get no milk at all. One day I was out at Aldi's buying gallons of milk for the kindergarten, Scott's gone for the kindergarten milk break. Because I thought, well, if I could just buy myself 160 more cartons, we might make it to the next delivery. Because when they don't send you chocolate milk, they don't send you something in replace, and they don't tell you. So you're scrambling, and so spend a great day running milk around. But now with Universal Free Meals, the Minnesota Free Meal Program, there literally is no limit to what we can do, because a lot of school districts spend a lot of their time collecting negative balances, trying to collect money, trying to market to the kids. That's just that part of it is you spend a lot of time doing that. We don't spend a lot of time doing that. We spend a lot of time creating and inspiring and encouraging them to try new things, and then hopefully getting them into the elementary menu or the secondary menu up here. And so what we're doing now is not the thing. It's still not the thing. We are only still building the foundation for which our future will be walking on later. How will we address when we renovate schools? How will we address when we build new schools? Will we just build them the same, or will we be looking towards the future as to what future food service is going to look like? And I can just tell you, after having watched this, this is my 21st year in school food service, plus a 9-year gap there with the bakery. This is the whole movement that we're heading in is not going to revert back to having fryers and things and having your food in holding cabinets for hours upon hours before they're served. It's all about fresh, hot, fast, whatever we can do. And as we know, the small schools, Adams, McKinley, and Cleveland, and Roosevelt, they're simply not built for those kind of things. They thought that those days were gone and changed to the new thing, and the new thing was really encouraged by manufacturers who sell all the things that we really can't buy anymore because they're too high in sodium or too high in fat or whatever. So building scratch and building with the flexibility that if we had to make our own whatever, that we could do that. So I just want to say thank you for your leap of faith in me back in, well, hiring me originally, but especially, and I brought you this crazy idea about getting rid of a la carte. That was a lot of money. What are we going to do? And I'm just glad to tell you today that kind of all worked out for us. And I will leave the rest with questions. I wished I had a better, so that's it. Anybody have any questions?
Lance, I just want to say thanks for doing the battles on the supply chains.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, as close as the Holly School District, I know they sent a note, their superintendent had to send a note to their kids this fall, with their kids to their parents saying, send bag lunches and send milk to school because we can't get enough food. Because they're in the supply chain, at the same time they had record enrollment, so
That's
I'm
tough.
glad that you've been able to fight through some of that.
Thank
and,
you.
Hold the feet to the fire of those vendors, because we can always move with it. We have a different milk vendor, for instance.
Well, and actually, since you mentioned that, I did find a different milk vendor. And one of the things that our current provider did is they switched from Cass Clay to Kemp's, and the kids don't like the flavor of the Kemp's milk. And so they're rejecting. So we don't go through nearly as much chocolate milk as we used to. Alternate company, which I have learned through the process of making sure we have milk coming from somewhere, they serve 1%, and we are certainly not locked in for more than just this year. I'm in favor of doing a taste test at all the schools between the two chocolates and let the kids decide which vendor we're going to use after this whole carton debacle. Kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth when you get called that you're not going to get any milk and you buy thousands and thousands and thousands of cartons a week.
And also thanks for, I mean, the things that you do with, I know it's the school district money, but I think you keep a pretty close eye on what you're spending, and we appreciate that too.
Thanks. I'm a bit of stickler.
Yeah, thank you for your vision and for just continuing to drive the end goal through all the things you've navigated. My question is, with some of the constraints of the elementary schools, how does what you're doing here at KSS transfer over so they're also getting the taste testing and the
Perfect.
nutrition?
The taste testing is a bit of a challenge. We do little things where we can because, as the principals will tell you, please do not slow down my line, because they are counting on us getting these kids through in a certain time and giving them the minimal amount of time that they're going to get to be able to eat, which they're going to talk during the whole time, and so time constraints there. But where it happens here is like beef stew, for example. I'm not just going to go on November 28th or whatever it is and go, okay, we're making a big batch of beef stew. We're going to make a couple smaller batches and we'll taste it out. We won't, everybody knows what stew is, but we'll just put it on the line and serve it with a biscuit, and then we'll get the responses from the high school students. And often we find that they talk to their younger students when they know that that's an entree we're testing out for the elementary schools. So like the chili was tested at Kennedy, and we do that. We're trying to replace kind of the processed stuff at the elementary is kind of more of the things that we like to make, things that come out of the kettles or things that we can roast in ovens and those kind of things. And so since we can't do any of that cooking at the schools, we have to find creative ways to be able to do it at Kennedy and then make that still be delicious by the time it hits the elementary schools. So that mechanism, the breaking of the chain of putting everything in a hot cart at 7:30 in the morning and then eventually at 11 when the kids get their lunch, there it is. It's a big cycle, and and school food service is a big ship that it really takes a long time to keep moving, but we're definitely heading in that direction. I got to spend the first month replacing a full-time person the entire month, so. But this is the year of the elementaries. You're going to see like with Tindy and her wanting to have the fruit and veg bars, to we're going to get these little cafes named, or we get some graphics up on them. We're going to dress them up just enough that they feel a little bit more friendly, but not so much that we thought, well, that was a waste if we decide to move on to a different school plan or different school or whatever. The changing of the enrollment and how the schools will be laid out with 1 through 3 at the 2 schools, if that happens, that's going to be interesting for us because it'll be a different style of service for our ladies, and we'll have different considerations when we menu things, when we do stuff, because we'll have little kids at 2 schools instead of just at 1. So that'll be kind of an interesting challenge. They have very different tastes from the littlest ones to like the 3rd graders. And they kind of evolve, so.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you. Okay, then we'll move on to our elementary principal, Cindy Wren.
Great, good evening. As you well know, one of our district goals is to develop well-balanced citizens through character education that creates a safe, healthy, and optimistic place to learn and grow. And so during the month of October at Cleveland, we are focusing on cooperation and respect. 2 very important character traits that benefit us throughout our lifetime. And our 8, 9, and 10-year-olds are at the perfect age to grasp that, and how their decision-making plays right into their levels of cooperation and respect. And we certainly need that in classrooms in order for teaching and learning to be successful. So earlier in the month of October, we had our annual Friendship Week, where we have a theme where we're dressing up each day of the week. Our hats off to making new friends. Making friends is no sweat, and we wore sweats, and we wear bright colors one day, and being a good sport was our Jersey day. So the kids love that. We've stuck to the same themes for those days of the week, and I had lots of good participation. A lot of twins jerseys that week because the twins are still making a run at it. So to build on that theme, we are also incorporating a lot of children's literature in our character education this year. This is a book called The Great Compromise that every class will read and discuss sometime this week. It's about 2 kids, and as you read the story, they're about 9 years old, and they're Cora and Wilson, I believe, and they are encountering some discussions that are typical to kids this age, where one wants to go to the zoo and the other wants to visit the state capitol. One wants to have blue popsicles, the other one red. And through tacos or spaghetti, they just have some typical kid conversations where they need to make a decision, but it's going to take a degree of compromise. So throughout the story, these 2 students in particular need to pause and discuss and think about, what does it mean to compromise? Sometimes we explain our needs and our wants, and sometimes it means, giving and taking. And so it's a really great lesson in a kid-friendly, illustrations, and lots of illustrations of the book, but even at a level where a lot of the kids at Cleveland can read. So every classroom will have a book. Teachers are going to highlight that and foster some discussion. And then these next couple of weeks, we're also using some character building card game activities. And this one is on respect. There's 6 cards in each deck, or each packet, about respect. And it might talk about what does respect mean, share a story, tell about a time you showed someone respect, having them self-evaluate a little bit. Who do you know? Name someone at school or in your neighborhood who respects others, and how does that person show respect? What is one way you and your classmates could show respect for other people and property at school? And so it's good questions for kids to break into small groups and discuss, or it could be a large classroom discussion. But these are some of the tools that we're using as we are working on building character in Cleveland. So cooperation and respect is what it's about during the month of October. Conferences. The end of this week and the beginning next Monday evening, we have fall conferences taking place, and we just always are thrilled to see the turnout that parents come and attend their child's conference. We love talking with parents. We reach out via phone call and email all the time and are looking forward to the coming evenings. At Cleveland, we will have a book fair going on throughout all of the conference evenings and day. And a big thank you to Sherry Bernard for learning and coordinating the efforts that go into hosting a book fair. This is her first go at this. Tara Price had been our librarian in previous years. So Sherry has spent the in-between times of manning the library to read and study and learn. And the books should be arriving tomorrow. And another thank you, we have some National Honor Society students who are coming over to volunteer during the book fair. And they were Cleveland kids once upon a time and still love reading books, so we're grateful for their help as well. I wanted to mention this fall there have been two really big improvement projects going on at Prairie Wetlands Learning Center. One, the siding of that enormous building. The siding on the education wing is completed and they were putting a second coat of paint, finishing the second coat of paint on the ed wing today. And it looks great. It's otter gold. And the rest of the building, they're still gonna need to work on the siding. But more importantly for our use is the parking lot. And as of today, we received an email from Joanne Ryan stating that their plan is to pave the main parking lot on Wednesday of this week, which means by Thursday evening, parents can park in that main lot and use the sidewalks and deck to get down to the ed wing. Up until this time, we've been using the fairground, some space up in the fairgrounds lot and needing to take a path by the bluebird houses to get to the ed wing. So this is gonna be fantabulous to have the main parking lot accessible to us just in time for conferences. And when you think about the forecast and lighting and all of those other details, it was the best news of the day, put it that way. But a big thank you to them. She also included a note, thank you to all who frequent the Prairie Wetlands Learning Center for their tremendous patience and cooperation throughout the implementation of the parking lot improvement project. So they are thrilled and relieved all at the same time. And we'll push that information out to parents so that they're aware of the accessibility of that main parking lot now. Tomorrow and Wednesday, groups of third grade students will be on a field trip to the MSUM Planetarium and Oceanarium. And this is good timing. It's right in conjunction with their study of the solar system and their planet research. So students will get to spend 60 minutes in the planetarium and then 60 minutes in the oceanarium. And after visiting those two sites, they'll be able to pause and just enjoy their lunch in the art building before jumping on the bus and coming back to Fergus Falls. This is an event that's sponsored by Otter PTO. They are covering the cost of attending that experience as well as the transportation. So it's when we think about that spring fundraiser, this is one of those big events that they have funded year after year. So we're glad about that. And then just got to thinking, we have only 2 weeks remaining of first quarter. So already a quarter of our school year will be done as of Friday, November 3rd. At the elementary level, we are continuing to send progress reports home with students at the end of the quarter. So the Friday after that, November 10th, parents can anticipate their child's first quarter progress report to arrive at home. And with that concludes my report tonight.
Any questions for Cindy?
Thank you.
Thank you. And then we have our high school principal, Mark Anderson.
Good evening. We, the high school staff has been implementing some of their projects that they're working on and put together. I was asked to go in and do an observation and be a guest in there in college writing with Mr. Scharnberg. It was quite interesting. They started a process. They put up 40 things on the board and had to work their way to the one topic they were going to all research. I wish I would have been in there when they started the process. I was in there at the end. They came up with universal health care. And you can about imagine how that's going to play politically. Actually, most of the kids wanted it to start with, but they had to have one group that was for and one group that was against it. And for 2 days, we listened to kids go through the debate, get 5 minutes to present, 2 minutes to get rebuttals and all these things, and shifting in classes. And you can tell the kids who put more time into it than some of the kids. But overall, it was unbelievable, the information that kids were able to dig out in 5 days and present that following Monday and Tuesday in their debate and their rebuttals. It was unbelievable. It was one of the best classes I've been in since I've been here, when kids involved in participating. It was interesting, every kid voted to go to universal health care. Everybody sees the benefit in it. The problem they talked about is the adults, the politicians who are not making decisions that are about the country. So they really got into more than just literature and speaking and listening and communicating and writing. They got into social studies and our government and what decisions are being made and why this wouldn't ever happen right now, because we can't. It was just unbelievable. They just sat back and listened to them, and when they asked questions of me, I just shook my head. Yes, good question. Tried to stay very much out of that conversation with them, but it was really awesome to hear them have that discussion in very depth conversation, not surface level, but why this would actually work. And I think if we, the adults that are running our country, would listen to our young kids, they might have some answers. We also have the opportunity this week to do our Career Expo. So we have all our students here at the high school, the LC, the students who choose to come up. Some kids are not comfortable coming back up to participate. We'll do some things for them in the future that they have had done in the past. We also have 6 schools coming here, so we're going to have almost 1,200 kids in the building on Thursday at one point when they all get here for their opportunities. Our 9th graders, we have chosen only to send to the Gold Gym. It's a big day. They're 9th graders. They've already struggled making the move from middle school to high school. We want them to go down and see that college and career opportunities are a possibility, and leave it at that, and then they'll have class the next 3 periods. Our 10th graders get 2 opportunities to have guest speakers from the community come in and talk about areas that they have chosen to get presentations on. So as a sophomore, they start picking the areas in career technical education and what pathways might lead to career and college readiness for them. We have some really good speakers coming in for that piece. Our 11th graders get off campus. They get to go to M-State, see that opportunity, what a college is like here in town, and then they have chosen to go to one business. So they have chosen something that they're interested in, possibly as a work-based learning opportunity as a senior. It's really cool. Teachers will be going out with them. Our 12th graders don't leave campus. They actually have community members and college people come in and present to them about how to be successful after high school. Finances, FAFSA, if you have a major decision, what are you going to do? How are you going to get to that point before you graduate? They will then go to the auditorium with all the other students from the other schools and hear a presentation. This year is from Dan Johnson. He is in construction and trades, so something very much different than we had in the past. Very interesting. I hear he's a really good speaker, so I'm going to have to sit and listen and see how that goes. So we're really excited about that opportunity, what's coming up for our kids to start preparing for the 9th through 11th grade for registration and what's life after high school for them. We also had Indigenous Peoples Day last Monday. We had Anton Troyer come. He spoke to both the middle school and the high school. And then one of his requests was to actually be able to sit in here and have lunch with just Indigenous students. The opportunity to hear their stories, talk about things that they see or don't see that we teach in content here. We had a full room at one point. Our kids came out in groves to see them. Presentation was awesome. The kids enjoyed it. I think the staff actually enjoyed it more than the students, just some of the things that he talked about. But it went over well. They remembered him from 2 years ago. And we've talked about how we'll do something like that next year, maybe a little bit different. Our other opportunity we have our juniors who have to make a choice. We've listened to our kids really well. Kids who are not going to college, especially 4-year, taking the ACT, they'll tell you is a waste of their time. They don't see a value in it. They spend 3.5 hours, 4 hours taking it, and they already know they're going to work. So we have communicated with Scott Myers, the National Army Reserve person, and he came and presented to our juniors and seniors about the opportunity to take the ASVAB. So our juniors are going to choose ASVAB versus the ACT. And one of the things he did a really nice job on, nothing to do with the military, I told him it's a career choice, right? But talked about other options. The ASVAB actually is a prep for the ACT test, so students can choose to take both. So we have a number of kids signing up to take both the ASVAB and the ACT, which will offer them the opportunity for college scholarships, money, I'll also give them in-depth conversation on what choices should they be making in registration their senior year, preparing for what life after high school is. Our teachers are doing something different. Mr. Tilke came up with a great idea in leadership. Our teachers used to always be the ones making contact with parents. One of the things we talked about is making kids make choices and making them have a voice. So all the kids at the high school this year got a postcard with 3 slots on it that they could pick up to 3 teachers they want their parents to come to for conferences. Class I'm struggling with, or all the way I have an A in a class, I want my mom and dad to hear from that person too. So the kids put the note cards together, they got mailed out last week, and parents are being asked to go on and book themselves into Google Meets or Google opportunities where they can come in and hear from teachers and have their son or daughter with them to present how things are going at school. In Otter Time this last week, we've had students working on new matter. So if you walk the hallways, unfortunately the magnets aren't strong enough to keep them on the lockers all the time, but every kid in the building had a note on their locker that talked about how important they were, had a phrase for them. And then we also had other classes that just put random notes and handed messages out to kids about them mattering in the building. So it's been really cool to watch how that's been building. We'll continue to work on that piece as we go forward. And part of their career in college readiness piece, the 9th and 10th graders are working in MCIS, something we do all the way through 12th grade. But they looked at their career clusters also and really working on what are the things that we offer for registration. It's not a deep dive, just here's the document, prepare yourself in the next month because we're going to get going on that. And our juniors did a employability piece in MCIS. What does it mean to be able to get employment? What are the things that you have to be able to do? And where you're at with skills. Are you good in this area and weak in this area? How do you adjust and make those things happen? The high school will also be having suicide awareness and prevention. I'll be bringing some donations that 4 businesses have donated almost $2,200 to allow our students to buy some t-shirts and donate the money to Duck Cup Memorial for future opportunities with suicide prevention. That first one is November 12th at 7 o'clock here at the in the KSS auditorium. The community is welcome. So if you're interested in coming into a presentation on mental health and suicide awareness and prevention, everybody in the community is welcome November 12th at 7 o'clock. And then our high schoolers will do 3rd period, 9th and 10th grade will go first, and juniors and seniors will go second. We have a group of 8 young ladies who have been amazing. One lady reached out, a senior, and connected with Duck Cup last year and has now got us in the opportunity to do this presentation opportunity because she felt it was important to support our students, especially after the suicide we had last year in the building. The ALC is working specifically on interventions to improve both attendance, academic performance, and behaviors. They do MERS data. They have that piece they go over tomorrow. Students in Delhi saw an opportunity. They did an obstacle course, racing with beanbags. The military came in and set it up for them. They did 2 different half-hour opportunities outside. It was interesting listening to a couple of kids saying, I'm not really athletic. I really don't like moving and running. And then you watch them out there having fun and smiling. So it was really cool to see them out there participating as a team building opportunity. They do have a waiting list. We are full at 86 kids. We did add an extra senior that needed that opportunity, so we're 1 over what we said we would be. We just talk about that every week, make sure that the people on the waiting list are the right order of who should go next. Credit recovery started October 3rd up here in the media center, and then Otter Adventures starts the first week in November. So they're getting wrapped up. Carrie's busy right now. And the ALC will also, like I said, come up for the Career Expo. IQ had their conferences October 16th and 19th. They had the Como Zoo event canceled. I think it was pouring rain that day they wanted to go. They're looking at something different, and they'll let us know when that happens. And their quarter will end November 3rd, so they're working on that piece also. And they will continue to add students right now because MVA is closed till second semester. So one of the big online schools in the state doesn't take any more student attendance or enrollment. So Ryan's hoping that some of the kids who would have chosen to go there will come to us. That's my report for the 3 buildings. Any questions?
Questions for Mark?
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Move on to school.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My report is going to be relatively short. I do want to thank all the staff and families though for the work that's been going on first quarter. It's hard to believe that we're almost 25% through the school year already. I want to just mention to the community that on or about November 1st, they will be receiving a survey in the mail. And the topic of that survey is whether they are supportive of the concept of a new 3rd through 5th grade elementary school. And so people will have an option to either take the survey online, so there will be a survey code, QR code that they can go in and take the survey electronically, or they can request a paper copy of it as well and do it that way, and drop that off at the district office or mail it in to the survey company, School Perceptions. So we're really looking forward to hearing what the public has to say about that. I will be putting up a fact sheet on the district website within the next 24 to 48 hours. And that will be a good source of information for people that have questions about the project, why we're proposing it, the advantages that it would lead to in terms of the educational experience of our students and how it would benefit the community. So look for that. Our staff will get a little bit of an advance preview of the survey, and so will our parents and guardians as well. So those will go out via email very shortly. Some congratulatory notes. We really have had a wonderful cross-country season, and I want to especially congratulate the boys cross-country team for their CLC championship. So appreciate all their hard work. That's a tough sport. We've mentioned on several occasions the fall conference scheduled tonight, and again appreciate all the parents and guardians that make it a point to come in and connect with our staff regarding the progress of their children, and whether it's a parent with a student that may be struggling a little bit or a student that's excelling, it's always good to have that interaction with the parents and giving us feedback on what's going well and areas that we can continue to look at to improve. We have a middle school musical coming up, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And so it's just a little preemptive advertising for that upcoming musical. And I've had the privilege of seeing a production of this musical a couple different times. The music's fantastic. It will be a very, very enjoyable experience for the audience, and hopefully many people can come and attend. And then on the student learning side, this is just kind of took me back, and I was thinking about my own experience in school. So here we have the McKinley students celebrating that they have now gone through the entire alphabet, recognizing the letters and the letter sounds that each of the letters make. And years ago, I won't say quite how many, but I was a half-day afternoon kindergarten student, and I did not learn to read, did not know the alphabet and sounds. I was taught that in first grade. It didn't happen in kindergarten. So things have certainly changed a lot. It's amazing the content that these young students are exposed to and master so quickly. And with that, I will turn it over to questions.
The fact sheet that you'll put on the school website, will that pop up on that initial screen, or do they have to tab into it? 'Cause
We
that's-
will make that readily accessible because
Okay.
I know that our website can be a little challenging to find things. So
Thanks.
it will be posted prominently.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, and then we will move on to our general consent items. We have the minutes from our October 9th, 2023 board meeting, and then the bills from October 5th through the 18th.
Yes, Matt and I came in early and met with Renee to go through the bills from October 5th to 18th. And we have all the details here. There was one bill that we also approved separately, and I'll just make a note of that. It was for $2,770 for postage for the community survey, so we want to make sure we get that one approved tonight, so we can send that out next week. As we went through the bills, it's interesting when you look at the details on bills versus just looking at what we've done in the past, and you can get tied up in details, but it's one of the interesting things we find is we buy a lot of things through Amazon. And one of the things that we noticed before, and particularly tonight, is the Amazon shipping charges. It's like, and I buy things on Amazon once in a while, and if you're an Amazon Prime member, you usually get free shipping. But if you have under $35, there's a fee. But if it's over 35, they try to take you towards that fee, but then you get your goods earlier. And so, I mean, it's usually $6.99 or a lot of $6.99s. But sometimes you're looking at some of this and it's paper clips or it's, different things, and it's like, okay, why do we have to pay a $6.99 shipping charge times 50 things? So it's not just $6.99. It adds up to be hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and over the year it becomes thousands of dollars. So I think that's something that we're going to look at. Renee and Matt and I talked about a little bit to kind of just get the word out that if you can wait a couple extra days to get your goods from Amazon, can you maybe go with the free shipping? Maybe just something to think about. Just be financially prudent, I think. Other than that,
Does the school not have a Prime membership?
Well, yeah, but even if you do,
Yeah.
it's not, if it's under, let's see, is it always free for Prime? I don't.
And I think it depends on, like, I don't know if the business account is different than
Yeah, it's
personal.
Yeah.
so-
And there's also some things, like file cabinets, where there's maybe an $80 shipping charge. Well, by the time you have the shipping charge, is it still cheaper to go Amazon than to try and find it local? Maybe that's that's a whole other thing. Starting to see a few payments here for Lincoln, Fergus Drywall for $13,000. That was right. Yep. K&K Fabrication and Lakes Country Mechanical for $47,000. So we're starting to see some bills come through. So there's definitely work being done. Amplify, we had about $16,000, and Amplify is a curriculum category. And other than that, we discussed a little bit about the charges that the city gives us for the hockey arena. We do get priority. We do get priority for when we can use the arena. And then we looked into the contract of our 700 hours, and are we using 700 hours, or are we using more like 500 hours? And there's a Zamboni running, and so there's some different things there that we're trying to get a handle on. So we can, if we're paying for 700 hours, we want to like to see that we get our 700 hours worth of time. Fergus Power Pump, we're paying every time we have a football game. They have to come and clean out the outdoor biffies. Every time we have a soccer game, the same thing. And so cross country as well. And so just something to keep in mind. I know we talked about moving fences, but then if we use the bathrooms, then we have to clean the bathrooms. So that's just something else. Pretty good size check to Minnesota State Community Technical College for PSEO. It's about $70,000 this year, or this quarter. So. And other than that, I think that was about it.
Any questions for Kirby?
Do you have anything else, or Renee? Good. Okay, all right, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Then we'll move to personnel. Elaine?
Good evening, everyone. We have a certified staff retirement from Lori Roeder, otherwise known as Lori Roeder. Language arts teacher. She has been on a leave of absence, and she has been with our district for 27 years. And so there'll be a resolution a little bit later on the agenda here. Support staff resignations. We have Kira Cox, support staff Ada Adams, Trista Tosterson, special education paraprofessional at Cleveland. Termination of a probationary support staff, Devin Nansen, special ed paraprofessional, and that was effective 10/12/2023 here. Support staff hires, we have Jason Wasdorf, grounds custodian, Kimberly Elliott, special ed paraprofessional, Julie Oren, special education paraprofessional, and then a support staff grade contract change, changing the grounds custodian, which is job description 606, to back to a grade 6, which it was many years ago. Just changing it back to that 6. So I would recommend those for board approval.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the general consent items?
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Those consent items are approved. Then we don't have any old business, so we'll move to new business. We have a resolution on the retirement of Laura Roeder. Whereas Laura Roeder began her employment with the Fergus Falls Public Schools in October 1996, and whereas Laura has been a valued employee with the Fergus Falls Public Schools for the past 27 years, and whereas Laura has been a dedicated language art teacher for the district, and now therefore be it resolved by the Fergus Falls School Board to thank Laura Roeder for her 27 years of service to the Fergus Falls Public Schools. Could someone offer that resolution and move for its adoption?
I'll offer that resolution and move for its adoption.
Second. Take roll, clerk.
You bet. Steve Vigasa.
Yes.
Kirby Anderson.
Yes.
Natalie Knudsen.
Yes.
Melanie Cole.
Yes.
Matthew Lemke, yes. Resolution passes.
Okay, then we have a couple of construction agreements again related to the Lincoln School. So our first one is an agreement between McDowell Company, the contractor, R.A. Morton and Associates LLC, the construction manager, and Zerberg Architect, and the Fergus Falls Public Schools for the Phase 2 Lincoln Project -7A Roofing L&M. Could someone, I get a motion to approve that agreement?
I'll make that motion.
In a second.
A second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. That agreement is approved. Then we have an agreement between CFS Interiors and Flooring, the contractor, R.A. Morton and Associates LLC, the construction manager, and Zerberg Architects, the architect in the Fergus Falls Public Schools for the Phase 2 Lincoln Project, 9B Tile Work, L&M. I get a motion to approve that agreement.
So moved.
In a second.
Second.
Any discussion there? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. That agreement is approved. And then our last one is an agreement between Twin City Hardware Company, the contractor, R.A. Morton and Associates LLC, the construction manager, and Zerberg Architects, the architect, in the Fergus Falls Public Schools for their Phase 2 Lincoln Project, 8A Doors, Frames, and Hardware. Can I get a motion to approve that agreement?
So moved.
A second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. And that agreement is approved. Our next school board meeting will then be Monday, November 13th, 2023 at 5:15 here in the Otter Community Room. We will be talking about facilities and programming in our work session tonight. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. All right, we are adjourned.